It wasn't a criminal who wrecked the sheriff's cruiser that morning. No speeding kid, runaway truck, or even a stroke of bad luck. It was Linda Harper, standing defiantly in the middle of the road, clutching a clipboard like a battle shield and flashing a homemade badge she'd printed in her garage. The look on her face when the patrol car skidded to a smoking halt, tires shredded, was a wild mix of triumph and utter confusion. And the kicker? She genuinely believed she'd saved the day. It all began with what Linda dubbed her Community Defense Protocol, a name she cooked up after a late-night binge of crime shows and too much cheap Merlot. Linda, with zero law enforcement training, no military background, and no authority beyond badgering the HOA board, decided her quiet gated community needed a protector. Crime was practically non-existent. The biggest scandal was a kid tipping over a mailbox at midnight. But Linda, newly retired and restless, craved purpose. She needed to feel like a hero. She recruited 2 neighbors, Carl, a handyman with a limp and questionable decision-making, and Susan, a book club exile known for her paranoid rants. Together, they formed the HOA Safety Squad, complete with dollar store walkie-talkies and matching navy polos. Linda didn't wait for approval. She fired off pompous emails to the HOA board, demanding checkpoints to screen suspicious vehicles. The board, tired of her spam, replied vaguely, "We'll discuss it later." Linda saw that as a blank check. Within days, she'd blocked the community's only road with cones swiped from a construction site, and slapped up signs reading, "Authorized access only," in a font straight out of a comic book. Her masterpiece, though, was the spike strip, a chaotic tangle of rusty nails, duct tape, and an old yoga mat, crafted with Carl in a caffeine-fueled frenzy. They tested it in her driveway, cheering as it stopped her SUV cold. In their minds, they were suburban superheroes. In reality, they were a lawsuit waiting to happen. That fateful morning, Linda was at her checkpoint by dawn, clipboard in hand, fake badge dangling proudly. Susan lounged under a beach umbrella, sipping iced tea like she was on a stakeout. Carl, in a too-tight tactical vest, gripped the spike strip like a grenade. Their first target, a newspaper delivery guy, swerved around the cones, ignoring them. Linda screamed, "Code Red!" into her walkie-talkie, making Susan snort her drink. Carl hesitated, missing the throw. Linda was livid. They needed a victory. Then they heard it, tires roaring up the hill. Linda's pulse raced. This was their moment. Without checking the vehicle, she yelled, "Now, Carl!" He hurled the spike strip across the road. It landed perfectly as the car rounded the bend. Silence. Then, pop, 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 tires exploded, rubber screeched, and metal groaned as the vehicle lurched to a stop. Linda strutted forward, ready to confront a criminal mastermind. Her smirk faded when she saw the sheriff's star on the cruiser's door. Deputy Mark Thompson, a towering figure with a no-nonsense glare, stepped out. His sunglasses reflected the absurd scene, Linda waving her clipboard, Carl clutching a yoga mat of nails, Susan munching chips. Nobody moved for 3 agonizing seconds. Then Linda, oblivious, marched up and demanded his ID. Thompson tilted his head, as if wondering if this was a prank. He glanced at his ruined tires, then back at Linda. "Ma'am," he said, voice low and lethal, "you just disabled the sheriff's vehicle." "That's a felony." Linda's confidence cracked. Susan whispered frantically into her walkie-talkie. Carl edged toward the bushes. Thompson called for backup. By the time 2 more units arrived, Linda was in full meltdown, insisting she was protecting the community and blaming a misunderstanding. The deputies weren't buying it. One photographed the spike strip, now bagged as evidence, while another cataloged the cruiser's damage. Linda, Carl, and Susan were ordered to sit on the curb, wilting under the sun as Linda clutched her clipboard, muttering about her duty. Deputy Thompson loomed over them, arms crossed, as backup documented the scene. The cruiser sat crooked, steam hissing from its hood. Linda tried to salvage her case, claiming HOA authority and a non-existent Citizen Oversight Clause. A deputy, barely hiding a smirk, asked if she had any law enforcement certification. Linda flashed her laminated badge, as if it could erase the felony. Carl groaned, muttering about promised donuts. Susan shot Linda a death glare, blaming her entirely. Thompson read Linda her rights as she gasped, acting like the arrest was a personal betrayal. She ranted about lawsuits and defunding the sheriff's department. Carl protested, claiming he was just following orders, but crumbled when asked if he'd been coerced. Linda was cuffed and led to a deputy's car, still shouting. Carl and Susan got citations and warnings, then fled. Carl to his truck, Susan muttering about leaving the state. Thompson surveyed the checkpoint's remains, fake stop signs, flimsy barricades of folding chairs, and notes demanding vehicle inspections. Handwritten, confiscation forms, authorized seizing, suspicious items. He shook his head at the audacity. Neighbors peeked out, phones recording Linda's downfall. An old man in a baseball cap chuckled. Told you Linda would start a war. The community, once cowed by her crusades, buzzed with relief. At the station, Linda demanded to speak to the sheriff 50 times before being booked. Her defiant mugshot went viral locally. The HOA board held an emergency meeting in their rec room, panicking over lawsuits. They denied endorsing Linda, clutching a vague email reply as proof. Sheriff Daniel Pierce took a personal interest, furious about his damaged cruiser. The HOA faced potential fines for allowing the chaos. Linda's trial was a spectacle. She arrived in a navy blazer dripping with flag pins, representing herself despite offers of a public defender. Judge Henry Caldwell, known for zero tolerance, watched her strut in, promising to dismantle the charges. Neighbors and deputies packed the courtroom, ready for drama. Thompson testified meticulously, detailing the illegal checkpoint and Linda's defiance. Her cross-examination was a disaster. Irrelevant questions about his punctuality drew the judge's gavel like gunfire. Carl, sweating under oath, admitted the plan was Linda's, confessing his doubts. Susan threw Linda under the bus, describing her driveway rehearsals. Emails projected in court showed Linda's unhinged demands for a secure perimeter and a detention area by the pool. The courtroom stifled laughs. Caldwell's gavel thundered. Linda's defense, good intentions, fell flat against the felony charges. The prosecutor's 5-minute closing sealed her fate. Linda's rambling 15-minute speech, misquoting Lincoln, blamed the media. Caldwell found her guilty on all counts: vandalism, obstruction, reckless endangerment, and illegal traffic devices. Sentencing came a week later. Linda, in a somber dress, gave a defiant speech about leadership looking like rebellion. Caldwell sentenced her to pay for the cruiser's repairs, 12 months probation, 200 hours of supervised community service, and a 5-year HOA ban. Linda's face twitched at the ban, a deeper wound than the fines. Outside, news crews swarmed. Linda ranted about fighting tyranny for a viral clip. The HOA issued statements denying her authority, hired real security, and posted signs banning checkpoints with a jab. "This means you, Linda." Neighbors launched a Checkpoint Survivors page, memeing her badge. Deputy Thompson kept it as a rookie lesson. Months later, Linda, in an orange vest, picked trash by the road, enduring honks and sarcastic waves. The community, unified by her fiasco, laughed freely. Thompson, driving by, gave a subtle salute. Linda didn't look up. Her war was over, her traps catching only her. What do you think? Was Linda a misguided hero or a reckless menace? Drop your thoughts in the comments and share your take on vigilante antics in tight-knit communities. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep the conversation going.